Welcome back to the Out of Bounds podcast. My name is Gavin Williams alongside
Charlie Caleri.
And on today's episode, we have a little prediction segment for our regular season awards for the NBA and our predictions for the first round of the playoffs, including the play-in games.
Yeah, and it's going to be really exciting. Starts tonight. Hawks Heat. First game, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Second game's Timberwolves at Lakers. Tomorrow we got Bulls Raptors and Thunder Pelicans. So some really intriguing matchups that are going to be going on. And it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out.
It will be, indeed. And I think with the play-in games starting tonight, I think that ends the regular season. It's concluded. And now we have our own set of awards.
It's award time.
So it's based on regular season.
It is.
So let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
So we're going to start off right now with Rookie of the Year. I think this one's kind of obvious in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of ran away with it at the end of the year. He was playing really well down the stretch. His team started playing better. They're looking really good for improvement next year, especially with a high lottery pick coming up. Yeah. My pick is Paolo Banchero.
Same with mine.
He's been really good this year. He's averaging 20 a game as a rookie, 7 rebounds, 3.7 assists. He's shooting decently efficient too. Top half of the league in efficiency scoring. So he's been playing pretty well as a rookie, and it's exciting to see what his ceiling can be as an NBA player.
Yeah, I completely agree. I actually got a chance to see Paolo play live.
Really?
I saw him in the Dome
that's awesome.
when they played the Orange. So
he lost that game.
We did lose that game very bad, but I think seeing that the spark that he brought to Duke, I thought it was going to come into the NBA, and I think it for sure did.
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't think he was going to pan out well as people predicted him to, like he did.
Over the summer, people were saying he was going to have too big of a head, and they were going to say he was a little overrated, but I think he filled his role completely.
Yeah,
for a rookie year for that kind of a team. So,
and it's exciting to see because honestly, for the first time since Vucevic left, they're on the right track. I think to getting in the playoffs. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe in the next couple of years.
Could be a play-in team next year potentially.
Could be. If they play the way they play against the Boston Celtics, I think they could. But moving on, we have most improved player, which I think is also another obvious one.
Yeah, Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah,
he was incredible this year. Started off incredible to the season.
He did.
I mean, that Jazz team.
They were hot.
If we remember, they were
at All-Star break
3 seed.
Yeah,
like for the first 2 months of the season.
And All-Star break, they were still.
Yeah,
they were still in it.
First time All-Star this year for Lauri Markkanen. He had a great season. Averaged just under 26 a game. Rebounded really well. He was actually 12th in points per game this season.
Wow.
So he was a sneaky player scoring the ball this year. Shot almost 50%. He was 49.9 from the field. He was just a really good player overall this season for the Utah Jazz. I think that the Jazz they're in a weird spot. They're right in the middle where they have leverage with a ton of their guys where I think they can move some of them, make some really good off-season moves to get more value for next year. It's not saying they're going to trade Lauri Markkanen, but I think that could definitely be a valuable asset for them if they want to get more picks in, depending on whatever direction they want to go in with the franchise.
Yeah, I thought that was a really weird direction last offseason when they traded their 2 best players, but they went into full rebuild mode and just missed the play-in game.
Yeah, they were in it until the end, kind of tapered off towards the end of the year, but I think that's because
the experience showed,
The experience showed, and I think that teams like the Lakers getting healthier, teams like the Thunder just coming out of nowhere, kind of really helped them.
Yeah, absolutely. And moving on to the next award is Sixth Man of the Year.
Sixth Man of the Year. Right now, it's probably a 2-man race.
I agree.
I have Emmanuel Quickley winning it.
I don't think that's a bad pick.
Who do you have?
I have Malcolm Brogdon.
Okay, those are the 2 guys that I was thinking of too.
And I pull up Malcolm Brogdon's stats, and I think what's crazy, I mean, he's averaging 15 points a game, which coming off the bench, it was a huge boost for the Celtics the entire year. You could tell he was the reason why if there were stars not doing their job, he was going in and he was doing them. He also averaged 4 rebounds a game, almost 4 assists, and he was shooting 48% from the field, and for his career average, he shoots 39% from the field. So I think overall it was a better season for him, even though he wasn't a starter. I think this might have been one of his best seasons yet.
Yeah, and for Quickley, he's also averaging 15 a game, averaging 4.2 rebounds and 3.4 assists. I think the thing that I value with Quickly more is that when he comes into the game, you realize it right away. I feel like Brogdon kind of gets lost in the Celtics team. I feel like it's pretty easy to get lost in the Celtics team.
There's a lot of stars on the team.
Emmanuel Quickly is averaging 29 minutes off the bench this year, which is something that I think the Knicks need as an energy boost for their team.
Absolutely. I mean, I think he brings a lot of energy when he comes on the court.
Yeah.
And I think their entire team does get better when he is playing. And I think if not next year or in the playoffs, he might start a game or two here or there. But I think next year he'll get some more minutes, even though Malcolm Brogdon still averaged 26 minutes a game coming off the bench for what people think are a very powerful Celtics team. I think that's where the Celtics also separate themselves from some other teams, where they can have guys come off the bench like Malcolm Brogdon, like Derek White, who both had some starting moments this year, but were mainly bench guys when all healthy. Going on to our next award, we're coming up almost to the end, but we have Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year.
I think this is this could be a couple other guys.
This could be a couple of guys. We got, I think, some dark horses could be Michael Malone.
Yeah.
Joe
Mazzulla maybe.
Joe Mazzulla's in there,
but they're not like the top contenders. I think either. I think personally, I think Mike Brown of the Sacramento Kings should win Coach of the Year. Okay. I think that's a good pick. I mean, that's a surprising team that they had this year.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm picking him, because where they were projected to be, they were projected to be a borderline playing team, playing the 9-10 game. They're the 3 seed.
Yeah, they are the 3
Now,
seed.
I know they were healthy the whole year, one of the only healthy teams in the Western Conference the whole year, but what he did with that Kings team, turning them around, Sabonis looked like a top 10 player in the NBA.
He was an all-star.
De'Aaron Fox, one of the top point guards in the league.
He plays both ways, too.
Right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think for my Coach of the Year, it's going to be Mike Budenholzer.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
Only reason being, yeah, he does have the best team record. But, I mean, I feel like Mike Brown, that's a great pick, but I feel like this guy wasn't the first seed throughout the whole season.
No, they kind of battled with the Celtics for a little bit.
All year. And they just pulled away.
At the end.
They just completely pulled away.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're only a game and a half above them now. They locked in the 1 seed. They locked in that they were the best team in the NBA this year.
Yeah.
And I feel like that all starts with the coaching.
Year after year, Budenholzer just exceeds expectations.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he progresses, yeah.
It's hard to really exceed expectations when you have one of the best players on the planet on your team.
Yeah.
But he just continues to do it every year, and he's a great coach.
Absolutely, I agree, 100%.
Second last award we got, Defensive Player of the Year. This is a race that kind of got taken by one guy.
Yeah, it died down.
About midway through the year because of how dominant he was on the defensive end of the court. Now, I'm not taking anything away from him, but this was kind of a weak year regarding defense.
I agree.
But Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, that's why I have two.
Incredible this season. He's averaging 3 blocks a game and 1 steal as a forward. I think there are parts of the year where Jaren Jackson carried that Memphis team on the defensive end of the court. I know they have Steven Adams. He's a pretty good defensive center, but I think that when you're driving to the lane, you see Jaren Jackson there, you don't really want to put up a shot. 3 blocks a game is just that's incredible.
Yeah. For our last award, you always got to end it off with MVP.
Got to end it with MVP.
So for my MVP, a lot of people have Joel Embiid, but I do not. I have Nikola Jokic.
So do I. And I think, a three-peat for MVP does not happen very often. We've seen a lot of repeat MVPs in recent years, ever since Steve Nash won it.
Yeah.
And you got LeBron, and then you had Curry win back-to-back, Giannis win back-to-back, Jokic.
And Giannis is in this conversation.
Giannis is probably the third guy in this conversation, but I think that the conversation year after year between Jokic and Embiid for MVP is just, I think it's a given at this point that those two are going to be
every single year
in the conversation year after year. And it's very unfortunate that Embiid is playing right now at the same time as Jokic, because Embiid could easily have 3 MVPs.
Oh, I agree.
In his trophy case, but because of Jokic almost averaging a triple-double this season.
It was really impressive to see what he can do. I mean, he has very similar stats to last year.
Yeah.
I think they're both incredible years, but I think the difference that sets me off right here is Jokic leading his team to the 1 seed, and like in stunning fashion, because I don't think there's a close team to a number 2 seed.
The West, the whole season was just, it was Nuggets 1, and then kind of everybody else.
Yep.
The Kings were 2 for a little bit. Grizzlies kind of took that over towards the end of the season, but there was a constant 1 the whole season. It was the Denver Nuggets. And it's because they were healthy the whole year.
Yeah, finally.
Jokic, yeah, finally.
Yeah.
Good for them. I mean, this is their year to really make a run at the finals because they weren't healthy the last couple of times that they were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Speaking of playoffs,
let's
get into it.
Let's go.
I'm excited. The NBA playoffs roll around every year, and it's one of the best times of the year, I think, in the sports world. And it all starts with the play-in tournament, which starts tonight.
They do start tonight.
Hawks Heat. First
Heat.
game.
I like this game, but I feel like the Heat are just going to run away with this one. I think they
so
automatically they lock up this 7 seed so easy, in my opinion. I feel like on paper it should be a better game, but I honestly think they win by 15 points or more.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is a close game, but I agree. I think this will be a 10, 15-point game at the end of the day. Not to say that, I mean, there could be a time where Trae Young could just go off at any time and get 40 for a team, but I don't think that's tonight.
I hope he does, though.
You hope he does?
I hope he does.
You want that matchup?
I want that matchup, but I do think the Heat run away with it very easily. They just lock in a spot for Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time against the Celtics.
The second playing game for the East is the Chicago Bulls going to the North.
They're going to the North.
And playing the Toronto Raptors in Toronto. I mean, that's going to be a fun game, I think. The Toronto fans are known to be very loud. Assuming Drake's probably going to be there.
But they might have 2 absences that could cause a loss.
Yeah, so OG Anunoby and Fred VanVleet are listed as doubtful for the game, which is
that's a
big blow.
It's a very big blow.
For the Raptors.
Siakam's going to have to carry if they do win, but I don't have them winning.
Exactly. I also have the Bulls winning.
I do have the Bulls winning.
I think that a fully healthy Bulls team, we saw it last year.
They were good.
They were really good last season. They were kind of injured a little bit this season, but they were also just underperforming.
They were, by far. I mean, I don't think DeMar DeRozan had his best year.
No.
And I don't think Vucevic has his best year. Kobe White, I'd never heard his name this year. Like, there were some guys on this team that had the season that they did last year that did not even come close to the performance that everybody was expecting. I think a lot of people were expecting the Bulls to be the 7 or 8, but not looking at the 10 looking in.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to be a tough matchup going into Toronto and winning that game. But without OG and Fred VanVleet, I just don't know what the Raptors can really do.
I don't think the Raptors.
Both sides of the ball.
So I do have the Bulls going in Toronto, and they're going to win. So that means they're going to be on the road again. And who are they going to face? They're going to face, and my predictions, they're playing the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, me too. Going into Atlanta is actually tougher than I think a lot of people think it is. Very passionate fan base. But I don't think that the Bulls can win 2 straight games in tough arenas. I just don't think it's very possible. So I think the Hawks win this one. I do think it's going to be a really close game. I just don't think that the Bulls can do it twice on the road.
I'm going to disagree here. I'm going to say the Bulls are going to go into Atlanta, and I have them taking the 8 seed. And reason being is because I think the performers who should have performed all season, like DeMar DeRozan, I think this is where he's going to shine the most. He has had some bad luck in the playoffs for his whole career. He's had some bad breaks. I feel like if there is a season where he can just prove himself and to get himself into the playoffs, I think this is the game. I got him at the 8 seed.
I like that, too. I mean, I think the Bulls can easily get in. I think this is a toss-up type of game.
It is.
And I hope it happens, honestly, because I think this would be most exciting for the NBA if this
if a 10 seed goes in.
Onto the Western side of things now. Timberwolves at Lakers, also tonight. Going to be a pretty good game in L.A. Stars are going to probably be there.
Yeah.
Lakers finally getting healthy. I don't think there's a chance that they lose this game tonight.
I 100% believe that LeBron and AD take over. This is an easy Lakers win, in my opinion.
I mean, everything that's going on with the Timberwolves right now with the Rudy Gobert situation, I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony Edwards and Cat have a game where they just go off.
Yeah.
But Cat's going to be really, really tested down low against AD.
Yeah, that's a great matchup.
I think if they had Gobert, they might have a chance. But without him,
The team chemistry going down.
yeah, team chemistry going down, I think it's going to be a tough road for them in this game.
I think it's too toxic in their locker room for them to
Right
beat
now.
this. Yeah, for them to win this game.
Yeah.
Now for the next game, for the Pelicans and the Thunder tomorrow
Yep. In New Orleans.
in New Orleans, I do have New Orleans winning this game.
I have the Thunder winning.
You know, I don't think that's a bad pick just because of Zion and everything that's going on over there. But I feel like this team, with their experience, what they had last year against the Suns, where they brought them to 6 games,
Yeah, they did. They played really well that series, too.
I think that is what separates them from a very young, inexperienced Thunder team.
And I think that's something that we can see with the Thunder is that they're a young team, but they're only getting better. The amount of draft picks that they have,
Yeah, they're
it's kind of
loading
scary.
up. Yeah.
I mean, Chet Holmgren, their second overall pick, hasn't even played this
didn't even
season,
play.
and they're still in the play-in. Shea's been incredible this season. Josh Giddey's been incredible too.
Love that guy.
And I think that the Thunder can go into New Orleans and win this game. I think it's easy for Shea to take over a single game, and I think that he can do it, especially going up against CJ McCollum.
I mean, I could see that happening, but I just don't at the end of the day. But so for my bracket, it would be the T-Wolves versus the Pelicans. And in that game, I have the Timberwolves pulling away, taking the 8 seed.
All right, so we agree there. I also have the Timberwolves beating the Thunder
Okay.
in Minnesota. I feel like Minnesota's going to be a rowdy crowd
Yeah.
if they get there.
Oh, they'll be really rowdy if they
And
get
I
a
think
chance.
they're going to take over the 8 seed this year in the West.
I completely agree. Moving on,
The actual
let's go on.
Playoffs.
Yeah, let's go right to the playoffs.
first round.
First round predictions. Here we go.
All right, we're going to start in the East. We're going to go the 1-8 matchup. I have Bucks Hawks.
And I have Bucks Bulls,
I think we're going to agree here. I think it's going to be Bucks in 4.
regardless of whoever they play.
I think they're going to run through whoever they play. I mean, I don't really see either team having a viable defensive matchup to go against Giannis.
Both of those teams, or any of these teams, in my opinion, don't have anybody who can stop Giannis.
No.
And I think the biggest thing with the Bucks is I just feel bad for the team that has to play them in this series.
Yeah, I mean, that first round matchup is going to be one that you're going to see it on the schedule and be like, yeah, I'm going to do something else during that game.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to watch these games.
Yeah, no. Going on to what I think can be the most exciting
We'll get
first
to that.
round. We'll get to that. But I think this 4-5 matchup in the East is one of the best in the whole playoffs this year, maybe.
It's going to be a good one.
It's Cavs next, and I have the Cavs in 7 here.
I have Cavs in 6. I think that they're going to go into the Garden and do it in Game 6. And I think this is going to be kind of like the Hawks series from a few years ago where Trae Young kind of took over.
Got it.
I think Donovan Mitchell goes in there and kind of just, I don't want to say runs through the Knicks, but I think he has an incredible series. And I think going up against a guy that we talked about last episode, Jalen Brunson, I think he's going to have a great series. Julius Randle, I think he'll have a decent series. But it's going to be tough for him, especially going up against Mobley and Jared Allen, all those guys, because they're a really good defensive team too.
They are good.
Sneaky good, underrated defensive team.
Jared Allen is the backbone of that defense.
Yeah,
He protects the rim. He does his job. I think he's perfect for that team who has those stars but needs the piece. And I think they have the piece, but I definitely think that the Knicks at home in the playoffs, I think it's very hard to beat them. That's why I have them wrapping it up back in Cleveland in 7 games.
in Cleveland, honestly, I've been to a few games in Cleveland. Their fans are loud when they're good, and especially now seeing them good without LeBron is actually, I think,
It's
a great
fun.
sight to see.
Yeah.
They're a really fun team. They're a really young team, honestly, too. They're just like the Thunder, but a little bit like a step ahead.
I agree. I mean, they do have a couple more years on them,
Yeah,
which also helps. But I think this is like a team that could be a mirror image to the Thunder in a couple years.
I think also a little mini storyline that we need to touch on is Donovan Mitchell almost went to the Knicks.
Yeah, he
when
did.
all those trade rumors were going on. I think this is a sign that Donovan Mitchell needs to say, hey, Cavs made the right decision trading for me, and the Knicks made a bad decision not trading for me.
I like that take. I like that take a lot.
Gavin, your team, the Boston Celtics, going up against, in my scenario, the Miami Heat.
And mine too.
I have Celtics in 5.
I actually do too.
You do too? You
I
think
do.
the Heat take a game?
I think this is how it's going to go. Now, between these two teams for the past decade, there's always been amazing series for them. But I think the thing that separates this year is I really like the Celtics team this year more than I like the Heat team this year as well. I mean, I think the Heat team, I think that they have all the pieces, but they just kind of like the Bulls, did not fire on all cylinders.
I think the Heat overall, great team on
paper,
paper.
Yeah.
On paper, but they just can't get everybody going at the same time. I mean, there's been times where Jimmy Butler's been cold, times when Bam's been cold, times when Kyle Lowry gets hot, and then the other two are
Yeah,
cold.
it's weird.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. Tyler Hero's been pretty good this whole season. He's also in the race for Sixth Man of the Year this year, as he probably will be every single year of his career as long as he's coming off the bench.
Yeah.
But I think I really enjoy watching Jimmy Butler play,
I love Jimmy Butler.
and it's really unfortunate because I really want to see him win, but I just think you're running into a buzzsaw here against the Celtics, kind of like the Hawks going up against the Bucks in that series.
Especially that the Celtics they had a little fire going on
Yeah,
at the end of the season. They caught heat.
They did.
And I think that's going to bring them right into Saturday, and I think that's going to bring the fact that they get a little rest too, get everybody healthy again.
I think that's the biggest thing is that these teams that aren't in the play-in will get rest. So it's going to be even harder now from years past to see a 7 and 8 seed maybe upset the 1 seed. Or you can make the case that
they're hot.
that they can get hot,
Yeah.
especially if it's one of those 9-10 teams. They win 2 in a row on the road, and then you're going into a hostile 1 seed environment. Maybe you could steal a game there, try to win both at your place. But I just don't think this year that either of those teams can really compete with the Bucks or the Celtics.
I agree completely. Going on to our last matchup in the East, we have the Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets.
I think this is going to be a really good series. I think it's going to be just like the one that we saw back in 2019.
Oh, I loved that series.
That was an amazing series to watch. One of my favorite series from the past 5 years.
Yeah, I can agree.
That Nets team was so fun. It really reminds me of this year's team.
I think this year's team is so similar.
Yeah.
The only thing that I just can't put my head around is Nick Claxton having to do all the work.
Yeah, especially on the defensive end. I mean, he's like the backbone of their team, but going up against Embiid.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough test for Embiid, honestly.
I think it's a good warm-up for him.
It is, but I think that the Nets need to rely on Claxton a lot more than we think that they do.
I agree.
Which sounds, I mean, that makes sense. Obviously, you want to stop their best player, and you need your center to guard one of the best centers in the league. But I think that Nick Claxton needs to step up for this team to even have a chance in the series, and I think he will.
I think he will too. Unfortunately, though, as much as I love this Nets team just because it gives me the 2019 vibes that they had with D'Angelo Russell, Jared Dudley,
Jared Dudley, he was dancing on the bench.
I mean, they have a lot of guys that can shock everybody in the playoffs.
I think so too. Mikal Bridges has been incredible since going there.
And the guy got drafted by the Sixers, actually.
He did.
He was drafted by. This is like a kind of a revenge thing for him.
Went to Villanova. He's from Philly. I think his mom worked for the Sixers, right?
I'm not even sure.
I think she did. I think that was the whole thing when he got drafted. His mom worked for the Sixers. It was a big deal. He got drafted there, staying in the same city. Then they traded him right away. So I think as much as Mikal Bridges wants to win the series, I think that he's not going to be able to get it done. I have the Sixers in 7 games.
Wow.
I think that the Nets push it to Game 7. I think that the only reason why I don't have them winning the series is because of the home court advantage for the Sixers.
Yeah.
I think the home team wins every game in the series.
In this series?
Yeah.
Wow. That is impressive.
I think the home team wins every game in the series.
I get the same 2019 feel vibe, except they haven't been playing with each other for the entire season.
Yeah.
So I have the Sixers in 5, unfortunately, because I really want this Nets team to pull out.
I would love it if the Nets won. I think
if they won,
great. If the Nets can escape the series by some
miracle.
I don't want to say a miracle. I think they have a good chance in the series, but I think that the Sixers, obviously with Embiid, it's going to be a tough road for them.
Yeah.
And I think if you win this series, you got to go play the Celtics. You're probably going to be gassed already from this series.
Yeah, I agree.
Celtics are going to have a short series against the Heat.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood for Gavin.
Let's go. Go C's.
I do think that the Sixers take this one, though, and I think it's going to be not in as convincing fashion as people think it will be.
Yeah. I completely agree. I want the Nets to win so bad, but at the end of the day, I don't think they will. Going on to the West. The first matchup here is the Nuggets and the projected Timberwolves.
I also have the Timberwolves. Gavin, what do you have in the series?
I got Nuggets in 4. I mean, with
In
MV
4?
in 4, I think they get a nice little clean sweep. But the reason being is because of Jokic. They finally get Jamal Murray healthy. They get MPJ. They have a great team, and I think that's going to be a blowout series.
Honestly, I'm going to disagree with you. I'd still have the Nuggets winning. Don't get me wrong. But I think the Timberwolves push it to 6 games.
Okay.
I think they steal 1 in Denver. I think they lose 1 at home, so it trades off a little bit. I think going back to Denver for Game 5 is going to be 2-2, honestly.
Wow.
I think that the Timberwolves can steal a game. I think that Anthony Edwards is his first legit shot to
this is
show
true.
himself in the playoffs. I know last year he played the Grizzlies, but I think this year, going against the 1 seed, underdog team, they kind of been hurt the whole year. Cat wasn't really there
They were hurt
for
all
most
year.
of the season.
Yeah.
A lot going on with Gobert. Let's see if they can maybe get that team chemistry going because it could make the team stronger.
It could.
I think it really could.
You see that with some teams.
Yeah, I mean, it happens sometimes where you see some turmoil within the team, and then it turns out to be kind of a good thing.
This also happened, I remember, with the Celtics when Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart were saying that the locker room was all screaming at each other, throwing chairs. And I remember everybody was like, oh, my God, Celtics are doomed.
Yeah.
I think they went on to beat the Raptors in 7 that year.
And I think, honestly, if you could look at this 2 ways. You could look at it as a team going downhill because they're disagreeing with each other in front of everybody, or you could just see that they're passionate about their team and they want to win. Everybody wants to win. I personally see it as a good thing for some teams, and I think one of the teams that it could be good for is my team, the LA Clippers. We saw Bones Highland and Mason Plumlee get into it last game of the season.
Yeah, they were into it,
against
right.
the Suns,
Yeah,
who they
they
will
were.
be going up against in this series. It's going to be an uphill battle for the Clippers, but I think that the team chemistry for the Clippers is there.
Okay.
I don't know if the Suns' team chemistry is there yet. I'm not going to lie.
That brings us to the next matchup, Suns versus Clippers, 4-5.
Yeah.
And I think with KD being healthy now, I don't think the Clippers stand a chance, but I think they do make it competitive.
Don't stand a chance.
Like I don't.
Wow.
Well, let me rephrase that. I don't think that they have what it takes to beat them in a series. I think they can take 2 games from them. I have the Suns winning in 6, and here's why. I think this is a very exciting series, but there's a big but there. The fact that Paul George isn't healthy. If Paul George is healthy, this game's going to 7, and I couldn't even tell you who's winning it. But with him maybe coming off the bench, not even sure what his availability is yet, I think there's too much in the air, and I think the Suns getting KD and having a really good record when he's there. I know you guys just beat him. This is the playoffs. This is where your good old friend CP.
Yep. And that's my biggest thing is, well, let me just start off with Clipper Nation, let's ride.
Oh,
I think
no
this is
way.
a series that could really propel this team into the right direction. We haven't really had a legit shot since we made the conference finals against the Suns team.
I agree.
And I know they, addition of KD, and that's a big deal.
But they also
Right.
lost a ton of their bench.
They did. They don't have as much depth, and I think that's
Yeah.
something that the Clippers have.
They do have a lot of depth. I'll give
on
you
the
that.
Suns. And I think, honestly, like I said before, I think the team chemistry is there. I think even if PG isn't there for game 1, maybe game 2, I think we can split in Phoenix. If we can split in Phoenix,
Yeah.
I think going back to LA, I think we can definitely split there, go back and have a 3-game series against the Suns for games 5, 6, and 7.
So who do you have winning the series? In
I
this,
have
though?
Clippers in 7. It's a very biased pick, but I feel like they actually have a legit shot in the series. You won't see many people picking the Clippers
Yeah, I
because of
completely
Paul
agree.
George
and
hurt,
KD.
KD being
KD
fully
being hurt.
healthy now.
Yeah.
That whole team being healthy now. But it's going to be tough for the Clippers to play in the series, but I think that Plumlee's been playing pretty well.
He has.
Zubac has been playing pretty well.
Your man right there.
Our big men have been very dominant. I think that, honestly, DeAndre Ayton's going to be a very underrated factor in the series like he was the last time that we played.
I think
Zubac is better than the last time that we played the Suns in a playoff series. I think he matched up against Ayton really well. Let's remember that Ayton
Didn't wanna be
really
there.
want to be there. He
Yeah.
wanted to be in Indiana, of all places.
That's true.
So is his heart really in Phoenix?
no.
Or is it in Indiana?
That brings me to my next point with DeAndre Ayton. Yeah, he's pretty good. Doesn't want to be there, though. And I think that he's going to be the reason why, if they do lose a couple games, he is the reason. And I think the most notable player in this series that needs to come out and shine is Russell Westbrook. See what he can do. He loves being in the playoffs. I want to see how he performs this year.
And he feeds off energy, and we're going to see Russ and KD, and I think that's something that, is very underrated right now.
Storybook.
I mean, this is storybook.
This is script writing
I
right
wish
here.
this series wasn't happening in the first round. We saw this type of series last year with Celtics-Nets. I know the Celtics swept them, but that storyline before the series with Tatum going against KD and that Nets team.
And the Kyrie versus the whole Celtics franchise. I mean, that was crazy.
This series could really shape up to be one of the better series of the whole playoffs. And it's really unfortunate it's happening in the first round, but either way, whoever comes out of the series, I will most likely be rooting for in the rest of the playoffs because of my guy, Chris Paul. I love Chris Paul so much. He's the reason why I started watching basketball. And I want to see him get his ring, but I want to see the Clippers get their ring more.
Well, I would hope that
we haven't even mentioned Devin Booker either.
I know.
Which is crazy. They have 4 guys who can just light up the floor at any time. But the Clippers have those guys too. Paul George, when he's healthy. Kawhi. Russell Westbrook. Come on. Zubac, 30-point game earlier this year. Come on. I mean, the Clippers have the depth, and I think this series could potentially go the distance. And I think if we get to that point, going into Phoenix will be tough. But honestly, with the veterans that we have on this team, I think we can get it done.
Let's also remember what happens in Game 7 in Phoenix, especially last year, against the Mavs. The Mavs went in there on a Game 7. That was a hard-fought series, and
destroyed them.
They absolutely blew them out of the water.
Wow.
Blew them out.
One of the worst games I've ever watched,
yeah,
honestly.
And I was so excited because they're trying to push this rivalry between D-Book and Luka, and I'm so glad we cannot see it this year because I'm kind of sick of watching it.
Yeah.
I'm sick of watching a fake rivalry, and I think bringing on the KD Russ, now that is something I'm willing to watch again.
I'm very excited for the series, and I think it's going to be really good. Moving on to the next series, staying in LA with the Lakers. They're going up against the number 2 seed Memphis Grizzlies.
It's going to be a good one.
We've seen the Grizzlies. They're known for the grit and grind.
Yep, they are.
They're staying true to that. I think the Lakers honestly have some grit on their team too. I think they're going to have to be physical to match up with the Grizzlies, but I think this series is going to be pretty good.
I mean, you mentioned grit, but I do have to exclude LeBron from that conversation just because I don't think I think he's a dog, but I just saw that he took an air foul the other day. So, but I think that LeBron being LeBron and AD being AD, I think this series could go to 6 or 7. But I think just the hunger from that Grizzlies team that they left with last year
left a bad taste in their mouth, honestly.
And I think they finish it in LA. So I think the Grizzlies take the first 2, and then I think LA takes 1. And then they close out in LA with a 3-1. And then LeBron, knowing his great 3-1 story, wins a game, and everybody's like, oh, my God, here we go.
He's coming back.
And all of a sudden, the Grizzlies like, psych, stop that right now. Give me the series. We're going on to the next round.
I got Grizzlies in 7. I think if you get back to Memphis in a Game 7, even if you're LeBron James.
Yeah. And leading into a matchup where a possible defensive player of the year, that's a great matchup against LeBron right there.
It
and
is.
AD.
I mean, I think I'm sure they would have Jaren against AD, but obviously he's going to be on LeBron a ton, especially in those late game situations where LeBron's going to have the ball in his hands.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see what D'Angelo Russell does in this series.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
He has actually a lot more playoff experience than people give him credit for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was the leader of a few playoff teams. Most notably that Nets team we already talked about.
2019.
I'm excited to see what D'Lo can do in the series. Now, I am obviously not a huge Lakers fan.
Yeah.
I despise them, honestly.
I hope
but
you do.
I do actually want to see them push the series as far as they can.
I do too. I want to see this game. I want to see this series becoming one of the greatest that we can see from a 2-7. I think this series doesn't really see any blowouts either. I think this is going to be within 10 points every single game.
I think it's going to be low-scoring games too. I think you're going to see a game where the winner has 95 points, 90 points, somewhere in that range, because I think that the physicality of the Grizzlies might overtake the Lakers. I think that might be something that maybe this is a Celtics-Nets situation that we saw last year.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that the Lakers they don't have the legs anymore after the play-in, especially
their age too. I mean, they're getting old. I mean,
traveling from L.A. to Memphis.
Yeah, it's a fun
Memphis
trip.
isn't is just as far east as Milwaukee, basically.
Yeah, that's a really far trip, especially being all the way in California, going all the way to Tennessee. I mean, that's a far trip just for a single round.
Yeah.
That's not a finals matchup right there. This is the first round of the playoffs.
First round of the playoffs.
And I think their energy at home will boost their confidence, boost their energy, and boost their overall team performance so they can beat a very well-respected veteran Laker team.
I think it's going to be a really good series overall. I do have some breaking news.
Oh, no way.
And I know this team is not in the playoffs, but I think this needs to be mentioned. The Houston Rockets just found their new head coach. Kevin Young, associate head coach for the Phoenix Suns, is going to Houston to become their head coach.
That's bonkers. I hate how coaches can just look out before the season's over.
And I think that's a big blow for the Phoenix Suns right there.
There
going
you
up
go.
against the LA
Let's go Clippers.
Shout out to Ian Kennedy, biggest Rockets fan I know.
The only Rockets fan I know. Yep.
Good for him. He seems like a very developmental coach, which is definitely what they need in Houston, and excited to see what the Rockets can do. But back to the actual playoff teams here.
Yeah, the actual playoff teams, not the first pick lottery guys, the playoff teams.
The last playoff series we have in the first round is we're going from the furthest trip to the shortest trip.
The shortest one, yeah.
Sacramento versus Golden State, a young team, but an exciting team versus a very, very the most experienced team in the playoffs.
NBA. As of right now, I think this Golden State Warriors team is the most experienced. They have the most finals out of any team that's actually stuck together.
And we brought this up last episode.
Yeah,
having 12 combined championships between three guys is something you never see in the NBA, especially when they're all together. Between Curry, Clay, Draymond, those guys are going to have to show up in the series, obviously, for them to be the underdogs, honestly, in the series against a Kings team who kind of came out of nowhere this year.
I think that this is going to be a fun one. That Sacramento, those fans, they are loud.
They are loud. Cheapest ticket for a game in Sacramento.
$500.
$500 for the
$500.
cheapest ticket.
So, I mean, this is a very hungry city. They haven't been to the playoffs since 2006. And I think that's going to show, especially with, even though the cheapest ticket's $500, they're going to find ways.
They're going to fill those seats.
They'll take out a second mortgage if they have to. This is their own Super Bowl right now. Like, going against the most experienced playoff team in maybe even NBA history.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, I mean, especially with them coming off of the championship last year, this Warriors team wants to get back to where they were, and I think
finally getting healthy gives them their own confidence.
Exactly. I think that this Warriors team is kind of going under the radar, which is what they want to be.
They like being the underdog.
They want to be the underdog, and it's weird to say that the Warriors are underdogs in a playoff series against the Sacramento Kings. But it's honestly the truth at this point, and I think that we need to see Sabonis step up for the first time being the best player on his team in the playoffs.
I know. Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox, first time in the playoffs. A lot of these guys, first time in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting to see if they can sustain their confidence going into the playoffs, or will they crumble under the pressure?
I think that they hold up. I don't think the Kings win the series. But
no, me neither.
I have the Warriors in 6.
Me too.
And reason being is I see the Kings not losing a lot of home games here. I think this might be similar to what you said about the Sixers and Nets. This might be the home series wins.
I hate to bring this up, Gavin, but I think it's going to be kind of a repeat of last year's finals. I think the Kings start off hot. I think they win the first 2, and I think the Warriors storm back and win the last 4. I think the wheels are going to fall off of the bus for the Kings, and I don't think the beam will be lit at the end of the series. As a wrap-up, I have Bucks in 4.
Same here.
Cavs in 6.
I have Cavs in 7.
Celtics in 5 over the Heat.
I have that as well.
Sixers in 7 over the Nets.
I have Sixers in 5.
Nuggets in 6 over the Timberwolves.
I have Nuggets in 4.
Clippers in 7.
I have Suns in 6.
Grizzlies in 7.
Grizzlies in 6.
And the Golden State Warriors in 6
Wow,
games.
I'm loving these number 6s because I got the Golden State Warriors in game number 6.
That closes out our first-round playoff predictions. But before we go, a little bit extra. Gavin, I want to hear your most exciting player matchup that we have in the first round.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this one. I mean, ever since we brought up the idea, this one was kind of a toss-up to me, but I think I'm going to have to go with the Kawhi Leonard and the KD. I
love it.
I think that this is going to be the most exciting. I think with Kawhi's defense and Kevin Durant's offense, this is where that matchup is going to dictate the entire series, in my opinion. Whoever wins that player-on-player matchup is going to win that series. But I think KD comes out. That's why I have the Suns.
That's fair. I mean, I think that's not a crazy thing to say, that whoever wins that matchup, that team's going to win the series, because when you're looking at the NBA, unlike some other leagues, star power rules.
It does.
And if you don't have a star in your team, you're not going to go very far. Both these teams have stars. All the top teams have stars. So I think at this point, it's just what stars are better than the other stars.
Yeah, I agree. But let's see, who do you have for the best player matchup?
Well, I have a duo matchup.
Oh, really?
I have Ja and Jaren Jackson.
Okay.
And LeBron and Anthony Davis. It's kind of an offense-defense
I like
type
this
of thing.
one. Yeah, this is going to be that's a fun matchup.
Yeah, Ja won't necessarily be going up against LeBron unless the Lakers want to put LeBron on that perimeter to guard Ja. But I think that we're going to be seeing Ja try to contest against AD in the paint a lot this series.
Yeah, I mean, he's a high-flying kind of guy. Let's see what he can do if he tries to poster him. We'll see what he tries to do if he tries putting a shot over LeBron. But I think the biggest thing in what you chose, I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be seeing a lot of LeBron and AD.
I think he's going to have a lot of confidence going into the series, too, especially knowing that he is most likely the Defensive Player of the Year. I think that's given him a lot of
prowess.
Around the league, honestly, and a lot of recognition for what he can do. And we've seen guys like that get recognition, and LeBron doesn't like when other people get recognition. So I think that's going to fuel LeBron a little bit.
I like that.
But it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a very physical series, and I think this is going to be a really good duo matchup. And I think, like you said, whoever comes out, whatever duo comes out and plays better, they're going to win that series.
I completely agree.
Now I want to hear what your most underrated series is going to be for the first round.
Kind of bringing your point about the best duo against the best duo. I think that the Lakers and the Grizzlies, I think that's the most underrated. I think that series can easily go to 7.
Easily.
That's
I
why
have it going to 7.
Yeah, I have it going to 6, but I can easily see a 7th. And I could see the Lakers coming out on top, too.
Yeah.
This could be a head toss.
Yeah, we both have the Grizzlies, but I mean, honestly, I was really debating picking the Lakers in the series.
Yeah,
thinking about the Lakers going even further than that in the playoffs.
Yeah, this is a coin flip at the end of the day. I think that Game 7, that's like heads or tails right there.
I completely agree. My most underrated series, I have Sixers and Nets. I think that the contrast between these teams is very different. You have a very veteran-led team versus a very young team, kind of like Lakers Grizzlies, but a little bit watered down.
It is.
But I think that the Nets can really shock some people in this series. And like I said, I have Sixers and 7. But I think that the Nets can really take control of this series if they can win their home games. That's going to be the key. If you win your home games, you got to steal one on the road, though.
Yeah, you can't just win. You can't just win at home. In the playoffs, you have to be able to play in harsh crowds
like Philly. Tough place to play.
I just think if you're gonna win the whole thing, or if you're gonna win one single series, you have to be able to win away.
Exactly. I totally agree. I think that series is going to be incredible, and I think that a lot of people aren't giving it as much recognition as it should be.
I agree.
Our last thing for this episode, the most exciting series you think we're going to see. Mine, we already touched on it a little bit. Suns Clippers. I think this series is just going to be incredible, and this season's been really fun for the Clippers, honestly. Most likely we're not going to win the championship, but knowing that we have pieces for next season, which is probably one of the last 2 seasons in our window to win a championship.
I agree completely.
We really got to go for it next year, but knowing that we have guys like Bones Highland coming off the bench, really good depth point guard. Russ is probably going to be back next year, hopefully. Yeah. He's been playing really well for us. PG and Kawhi hopefully going to be fully healthy by the time next year hits. Zubac's been playing pretty well.
Yeah,
I think all things are really clicking for the Clippers, and I think that especially with everything that we talked about the Suns, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, KD, DeAndre Ayton, Monty Williams, we haven't even mentioned him this episode, but he's an amazing coach. This is going to be a really good series.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be a great series, and I think that can easily go to 7 or it can easily be done 4. I think it's kind of one or the other in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, I think it could easily be done just like that, especially if we don't get off on the right foot. If PG's not there and we lose the first 2, I don't see a way that we can climb out of a 2-0 hole. I think we have to split the first 2 games
you have to
have
Phoenix,
a chance in the series.
My most exciting series is definitely the Cavs and Knicks. I think that game, I don't want to say it's guaranteed to go to 7 games because I can't, but I want to say because that is like so evenly matched up teams. And I think they both have players that don't
Can explode.
They both have players that can explode, but they also have players like nobody can really guard Julius Randle that well, but nobody can really guard Donovan Mitchell that well.
Yeah.
So I think they both have players that can shine, and they both have players who are going to be tested in the series.
I think an underrated part of that series is going to be the atmosphere, too. I think that the atmosphere of playing in MSG in the playoffs against a really, really fun Cavs team is just going to be, like I said, like that Hawks series from a few years ago.
like the
Bing
same.
bong. It's going to be like the same thing, I think. I think it's going to be very similar, and I think that the Cavs and the Knicks are going to really put on a show for the fans.
Absolutely. So, with the conclusion of the most exciting series, that's going to conclude the episode.
It was a fun one.
This was a fun one, but stay tuned because we will be back for round 2 predictions soon.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as these are over, get ready because round 2 is coming out.
We got NHL coming soon. Those playoffs are starting. Waiting for that series to wrap up. A lot of close races. We didn't want to assume that any of these races would be finalized by now. So we're just going to let that ride. Another episode will be coming probably early next week. Please share with friends, family, anyone who you think is going to be interested, or anybody who you think might not be interested but
Give
wants
them a
to
listen.
maybe get into sports.
Get them a
We
listen.
would love to make people sports fans.
Absolutely. If we can convince some, let's do it.
Leave any feedback you guys have in the comments below on YouTube or on Instagram.
Shoot us a DM.
Shoot us a DM on Instagram if you have any content suggestions for us, if you want to see anything new, if you have just really any suggestions. We're still learning.
Yes, we are.
Really want to improve and overall just want to get better.
Absolutely. And giant thanks to everybody who's listening right
Thank
now.
you.
Thank you guys so much. We
Good.
appreciate the love. We appreciate the comments. We appreciate anything our community can give back to us so we can be a better podcast.
That's right.
So thank you guys for listening once again. And everybody have a great day.
Have a great day.